I'm going to just give you a brief rundown of why changing out a door can be difficult sometimes, because it's not just changing out a door. In this situation, I've already cleaned up the sill a little bit here where the existing door was. The old sill came out and brought a whole bunch of material with it that was all just kind of scabbed in there. So now we're left with this big gaping deep hole that has to be refilled with appropriate framing and filler material. But if you'll notice, there's a discrepancy in the height between this concrete and this 2x4, so even if I add a certain amount here, it's not going to turn out at the same height there. And not only so, the concrete itself is all beat up. A bunch of it was broken up and fell out there, so this is lower than this spot. Well, that wouldn't work for where your sill of your door is supposed to come across a nice flat surface there, and to be able to be sealed well with like silicone or something to keep all the weather out. So first things first, I'm going to use the hammer drill, actually tack this 2x4 because it's kind of floating in there. Make sure I can get it attached to some sort of concrete down in there. Add 2 layers of filler to get to a certain height where I need to be in order for the door to be able to clear the flooring as it opens, and also so that it doesn't get too high in the opening and interfere with the trim that's here. The existing trim has to stay where it's at because the wall material is actually notched in and installed around the trim, so that's staying put. That's a permanent fixture. So the door can't be too high so that the door wouldn't hit the trim. It can't be too low so that there would be a gap. You can see the conundrum that we're up against a little bit here. So in addition to all that, or rather along those lines, after adding the furring strips here to establish my height, then I'm going to have to most likely take my grinder with a diamond wheel and take some of this concrete out to make it level with the furring that's here, so that everything is going to be built up correctly at the same height to provide a firm sill base for the sill of the door. And in addition to that, if that wasn't enough, here's some kind of crazy stuff. Someone glued in some framing materials in the middle of all this kind of clay and clay tile, concrete, who knows, mumbo jumbo, in order to get some sort of a spot for screws to go through, but that doesn't line up with where the hinges are. Typically, I like to run screws through the hinges to provide the strongest, most firm installation on the hinge side of the door. So in this situation, I'm actually going to be pulling some of this out and installing some sort of furring framing in there, glued in, something. So I have something else to put my screws through the door frame into the jammed opening. So that's just one little snippet as far as why replacing a door isn't always just replacing a door.